That's pretty good, dude. Sure, I'd take it down some gravel. I'd take it down a little forest road. I own a BMW. I will have it helicoptered to my nearest service center. What an interesting motorcycle, man. I am fearing right now that I'm gonna clip my heads to the ground. What does this button do?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I have to cast aside my prejudice. I have to talk about a BMW motorcycle. Many of you guys know on the channel, I am not particularly fond of BMWs. In fact, at almost any opportunity I get, I like to dunk on them and make fun of them. They just make it a little bit too easy with the BMW GS riders and the S1000RR riders, and the fact that they've never won a World Superbike title, and they're not in MotoGP. I just don't like BMWs very much, okay? I'll be perfectly honest. So, when my friend over at Eurocycles, Chris, he sent me over this BMW R9T Urban GS, is 2021 model year, 40th anniversary livery all over this thing. I thought to myself, Chris, why did you send me this thing? Why did you send me some bizarre, pretendery, scramblery motorcycle thing from BMW of all people? So today, I'm going to try to overcome my prejudice of BMWs. I'm going to try to review and talk about this motorcycle in a fun and informative way so you guys get a great video out of it. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the BMW Urban GS. Although, I kind of thought all GSs were urban. Damn it, I'm making jokes again. Let's get started. All right, guys, as I mentioned, this bike is a loaner motorcycle provided by Eurocycle. I didn't buy this thing. I'm not giving it away. We just have it here in the shop for a couple months to tool around with and have some fun with. Eurocycle is a fantastic dealership out west in Las Vegas, and they got a couple other locations as well. If you're interested in buying a Euro-centric motorcycle like a Ducati, MV Agusta, BMW Urban GS, if you will, you can hit the link down below. They will ship all over the nation. We've bought, I think, 4 or 5 motorcycles from them at this point. It's always a awesome, painless procedure. You get the title and stuff in the mail, all the information you need to go get it titled in your local area. The bike shows up in a trailer. It's a really great experience if you've never bought a motorcycle from far away like that. If you know what you want and they got you a good price for it, which I guarantee they will get you one, hit the link down below and check them out. Get yourself a motorcycle from them. Now, I had to look up a little bit about this motorcycle to understand it. I obviously do not know all of the BMW lore and fanfic that comes with the Urban GS here, so I had to look it up. Okay, so the BMW R9T Urban GS is a visual role model, is what BMW is saying in their website. What that means is this motorcycle is harkening back to the original enduro bikes from the 70s and the 80s. So this black and yellow design is the 40th anniversary edition. It's an homage to the legendary first touring enduros from the BMW Motorrad company. BMW says, power through the city traffic or prefer to take a spontaneous trip over gravel roads, the air/oil-cooled Boxer makes your ideas on board, and it makes for very fun travel. This motorcycle has a very big cult following. I posted it up on the Discord to see what people thought about it and what I should do with it. And a lot of people said it's their dream bike, which I would say dream a little bit bigger. I feel so bad dogging on this motorcycle. It's not a bad bike. We're gonna have some fun with it. But it is definitely a halo motorcycle, a big dream motorcycle for a lot of people. I mean, it looks very, very authentic, and that's the takeaway for me, is this might actually be one of the most authentic scramblers on the market today. And we're gonna get into that by looking at the specifications of this bike. So I'm gonna get the camera on my hand, we're gonna walk through this motorcycle, point out all the relevant specs and features. We're gonna go take it out for a ride, because it is a very quirky and unique motorcycle to ride around, and let's have some fun. All right, guys, learning a little bit more about the BMW R9T Urban GS here. The base price is around $16,000, but I'm seeing online people are speccing them up to about $17,500 before tax, title, and license. So that makes it pretty much a $20,000 motorcycle, and hey, it kind of looks like it too. Star of the show here, of course, is this 1170cc Boxer twin engine. This is an iconic BMW design, the Boxer twin engine. They're really the only ones that kind of do this thing. It's an air and oil cooled engine, so you guys can see no radiator here. It's just got a nice oil cooler right there. Very iconic, classic design. It's making about 109 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 85 foot-pounds of torque at 6,000 RPM. The weight on this thing is about 493 pounds, which makes it pretty heavy for a kind of scramblery, kind of pretend off-road bike, as it were. To give you guys context, my Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled weighs about 450 pounds, which is about 50 pounds lighter, and a regular Scrambler weighs about 70 pounds lighter than this bike as well. This thing features a 33.5-inch seat height on this very yellow seat right here, so a little bit taller if you're not used to riding these kind of bikes. It's going to be a little bit taller for you. A big thing about this motorcycle that a lot of people might not know, unless you're a BMW diehard, is that it is shaft drive. As you guys can see here, there's no chain leading back to this wheel. You've got just a big output shaft in one gear here. There's a couple advantages to shaft drive. Number one, it's a pretty direct translation from your throttle hand to the rear wheel. There's obviously no chain slack or anything like that. You get a pretty direct power output, and it's no maintenance. So you don't have to lube the shaft or anything like that. You just have to ride it and have some fun with it. The other cool thing about this bike is that it's a single-sided swing arm, and it's also got the factory exhaust on there too, which looks pretty neat. So single-sided swing arm over here. I apologize for the lighting. This is Weekends with Yam. You guys can't expect the full production quality value over here, so it's a little dark. So we'll get back on the other side. As you guys can tell, we've got the awesome 40th anniversary livery all over this motorcycle. That's a big feature about it. That comes with the hand guards, the tall front fender, high front fender. Motorcycle is on 1917 setup as well. You guys can see that here, and that's going to give you a relatively confidence-inspiring feeling off-road, but it's fitted with these relatively road spec Metzlers. These are obviously not off-road tires, but a 1917 setup, you could fit more knobby kind of tires if you wanted to. As we mentioned, lots and lots and lots of farkles and little fun things on this bike because it's a special anniversary edition. But one thing that's really cool about this bike, if we can take a moment, is the dashboard. I think the dash is a very cool piece on this bike. It's very compact. You're not doing a whole bunch of extra stuff on here. This bike has all of 6 miles on it. It is brand spanking new, and it looks like it too. You get heated grips as standards. You get 2 ride modes. I think it's road and wet, which is pretty cool. You've got cruise control, a couple other tech features here as well. So it's a tech-oriented motorcycle with some nice features, but it doesn't look over the top when you're actually looking down the cockpit. You still get that classic kind of view out on the cockpit here as you would on a retro motorcycle. Non-adjustable front suspension on this bad boy. You guys can see here those forks are non-adjustable. And you've got a preload and rebound adjustable rear shock out back. So that's gonna make it so that you can have some fun and dial in your rebound a little bit, make it so that your motorcycle handles those rough roads you're going on a little bit better, which is pretty cool. It's got a 4.5 gallon tank, so you can definitely get some decent mileage out of this thing. I have no idea what the range would look like given such a big engine, but I say enough about the specifications. Let's go and check out how this machine does on road and what it feels like to ride.
All right, guys, we've memed about it. We've joked about it. Let's get started to have some fun at this motorcycle. Don't mind the exhaust smoke. That's because this is a brand new exhaust system on this bike, and it's clearing out some of the old stuff. So, swinging a leg over the BMW R9T Urban GS. Seating position, super neutral here on this bike. Like it a lot. Very nice. Pegs are in a very neutral position. Seat height for me, totally approachable. I'm about 5'11" with a 32-inch inseam, and despite having a 33.5-inch seat height, you guys can tell that I am flat-footing this bike nice and easy. Quirkiest thing about a BMW with a Boxer is you turn it on, whole thing slaps because it's an even firing order and the cylinders are going this way. So you'll see here, I'll start it up. Kind of jumps over to the side, which is a fun quirk about this bike. Clicking it into first gear here, taking off with this motorcycle. It's got a hydraulic clutch, so not a cable clutch. Extra complexity and unnecessary in my humble opinion, but I know some people love the feel and they like hydraulic clutches. I personally have never had an issue with the cable clutch that I felt needed to be solved by adding additional fluid and complexity to a motorcycle, but it is what it is. First thing you notice when you get this bike out on the road, for lack of a better term, the Boxer Twin is a smooth power plant. Even firing order. It's going from side to side instead of up and down like most cylinders on most motorcycles. So it feels crisp, it feels buttery smooth. The other thing I like a lot about this bike, I've been riding around for a little bit here, is that much like the other GS's, even though this is not really a GS, it's got great lock to lock, really ample ability to steer, feels light on its feet once you get it moving all the way to super down low. Throttle feel, let's talk about that on this motorcycle. It's very peculiar, very unique on this bike. It's a throttle feel that I think if you're used to a chain motorcycle, you're used to a cable actuated throttle, this is a ride-by-wire system going to a shaft. It feels pretty weird. It's got a lot of engine braking, which isn't the throttle's fault. That's more the fact that this motor has so much inertia, given that it's two big cylinders and they're going from side to side. So as I lay off the gas here, it genuinely feels like I've gotten on the brakes. It doesn't feel like I've let off the gas. It feels like I've let off the gas and gotten on the brakes. So a lot of engine braking on this thing. And I don't think you can dial that out with the modes. If I press mode here, it's just road, dirt, rain, and road. So that's not going to change throttle mapping in terms of the engine braking and that sort of thing. It's definitely going to maneuver and change how much output you get to the rear wheel, which you get a very snappy, direct feel. Once you get on the gas here, good amount of torque from this engine, man. It's a big engine, right? 1170 cc's, you're not going to be wanting for torque. One feature I wish this bike had, kind of like the Harley Sportster. I never thought I'd want a Harley feature on a BMW, but I kind of wish that I could see my RPMs on this little LCD readout. It's really cool having such a small, minimalistic dial here on this motorcycle. But I do wish I could see my RPMs, because for me, you have to rely on the feel of it, and that's not the worst thing in the world. It kind of brings you back to basics on motorcycling, but it'd be really nice to see your RPMs while you're riding. I wouldn't have been opposed to a dual clock setup on this thing, but I can understand why BMW, probably for their heritage and all the other stuff, wanted to keep it with just this one dial right here. You know, these bikes, these heritage style, scrambler, retro callback motorcycles, whatever you want to call them, they remind me a lot of what's happening and what's been happening for the past decades or so in the world of watches, where it's like every premium watchmaker wants to harken back to some old days. And, you know, yes, they have new and more reliable movements, and yes, they have more features, and yes, they're built to a higher standard and blah, blah, blah. But they're all trying to recapture some sort of charm from the olden days. And much like very high-end premium watch buyers, I think the people who buy a $17,000 BMW retro callback urban GS thing, man, they're not that particularly concerned with the performance and the overall, you know, ability for this bike to do things. It's best suited for a light gravel road if you have to do it, which we're not going to do today. This thing is brand spanking new, and it's a loaner bike, and I've already proven that the best scrambler is a Gixxer 250 on RS10s, so I don't think I need to show anybody anything about this motorcycle off-road. It's also on these Metzler Sport Touring tires, so I'm not about that. And so yeah, like, you know, nowadays we've got better dirt bikes, we've got better race bikes, but this calls back to an era when you had one bike and you just needed it to do everything. This section here is a lot of fun because it's quite a bumpy little section of asphalt that I like taking bikes on to see how they handle, and honestly the BMW soaks up bumps really, really well. A lot better than I thought it would. It's a really pleasant riding experience. I think that's what I keep coming back to on this bike, is just how you want to just take the lines a little smoother but cleaner, you know? You want to ride clean with this thing. Clinical, precise on the BMW, you know? You want to just be a perfect rider. Yeah, maybe that's why the BMW riders get the rap that they do with their one-piece Aero Stitch suits and obeying every traffic law to absolute perfection. It's because you kind of, this bike is eliciting for me to perfectly behave. I don't want to, you know, do silly things with it. Now, I will say, bumping over these little speed bumps here, just little twist of the throttle gets you over a little bit faster. Boy, this thing soaks up bumps a lot better than I thought it would. That's really nice, you know? That's pretty good, dude. I could actually, I didn't think I'd say it because it's 500 pounds and a bit silly, but sure, I'd take it down some gravel. I'd take it down a little forest road. I probably you know, wouldn't have a hard time picking it up off the side because of the heads. You know, they'll give me a nice lean angle right there. I might bust open the engine when I crash it, but that's okay. I own a BMW. I will have it helicoptered to my nearest service center. Of course I will. I think the riding experience also is definitely helped by all the special livery. The peripheral of your eyeballs are always seeing like black and yellow and flashy little things, and it's a cool experience. And yeah, again, it reminds me a lot of the experience of owning a high-end, you know, cool limited edition watch or something like that. And you just kind of want to gaze at it and stare at it a little bit. The one knock I will have for this motorcycle is the transmission. Really strange transmission on this motorcycle. First gear is as ponderous and strange and hard to find as a Honda Grom, dude. Like, it is, the first gear is just like, you just slap it down and you know it's in gear. You don't get a satisfying clunk. There's a lot of slack in the lever, but neutral is so buttery easy to find. So it's like, on the one hand, the shift feels are pretty bad on this bike, but on the other hand, you get a lot of, you know, nice feelings out of neutral. So they claim this motorcycle makes 109 horsepower, which I definitely believe. I got it out on the highway earlier and got romping on it a little bit because you got to open up a motorcycle and see what it can do. And, you know, it's definitely got about 109 horsepower, I would say. It's not going to light your hair on fire, but it's also definitely not a slouch, you know? I just can't believe the amount of engine braking on this thing. You don't even need to hit the front brakes with how much it engine brakes. Look, I'll roll off the throttle here, and I've scrubbed off enough speed. That's kind of nice. You got to ride it a little differently. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm noticing about this bike is you can't really ride it like a totally normal motorcycle because it's really not. Boy, you really don't even need to hit the front brakes. You have enough engine braking to where you can just scrub off speed, no problem. Oh, it feels really peculiar when you give it a little bit of lean and add some throttle because the cylinders, that inertia is all of a sudden, the roll angle is changing on it, right? So it's going side to side like this and it rolls over and it's going side to side like that. Definitely changes the feeling quite a bit on this bike. What an interesting motorcycle, man. It's definitely not calling to me to carve up any canyons or anything, as I'm not trying to rip up twisties with the R9T, but it is a very pleasant experience, I gotta say. I think the complete lack of vibration is honestly a feature of this bike. It almost feels like an electric motorcycle. It's so vibration free. I don't feel anything through the pegs. I don't feel anything through the handlebars, which is really quite nice. And although I did say you don't have to use the front brake, this motorcycle comes equipped with a dual disc setup, axially mounted, not a radial mounted Brembo, so not the best top shelf stuff. Also not a radial pull master cylinder, side to side one. It's fine. You don't, again, you're not looking for top shelf braking performance on this bad boy. You're just trying to make sure you can get the bike stopped on your way to the cafe or BMW owners meetup or something like that. I am very interested to see how this thing would do kind of trundling along at speed on like a little gravel road with some nice undulations. I think it would do pretty well. It's got excellent low speed handling. I know I haven't shown you guys much of that here in this vlog, but the low speed handling on this bike is really quite nice. I am fearing right now that I'm gonna clip my heads to the ground, but at the same time I know that so much precision BMW engineering went into this thing, and there's no chance that I will scrape my heads as I take a corner here. I'm probably a good foot away, but it just, God, it feels so weird seeing the sides of my motorcycle on the side there. And I'm apparently low on gas now. Can't believe you, Chris. You didn't give me a full tank of gas, man? Come on, dude. Come on. You're trying to out here promote your dealership? You're gonna shortchange me on gas? Hey, for what it's worth, the Aprilia that I bought from you has a full tank of gas when it showed up, so that's nice. Maybe it's just the loaner bikes, you cheap out a little bit. Well, let's get this BMW turned around, let's get it to a fuel station, and continue chatting about it, shall we? All right, folks, fueled up. Still hanging out here on the R9T. Let's talk about this bike's kind of touring potential. I know you might look at this bike and think, well, I don't know about that as a touring bike, Yammie, but remember, This bike is not designed to be the best at anything. It's designed to be a callback old school bike. And I think with some of the features they've added here, this is actually a pretty decent little touring bike. Like, yes, it's missing a giant windscreen like you'd see on bigger sport touring options, but honestly, I've never really liked the giant windscreens on those bikes. They always make the wind buffet my helmet in a weird way. And I kind of prefer the feeling of the natural wind buffeting I get from a kind of naked bike like this, which is technically naked, even though it's like a retro naked style thing. Heated grips is standard. Cruise control, I mean, that's really what I'm looking for in a long distance kind of bike, is cruise control and heated grips, no doubt, because weather can change a lot when you're riding really far distances, especially elevation. If you're changing a lot in elevation, you will definitely want some heated grips. And the cruise control is just fantastic. You can tap it in and set it and forget it and just cruise on out. I think every bike that comes equipped with ride-by-wire should have cruise control on it. I don't see why they don't. If you're already sacrificing the pure analog feel of a cable throttle, then you might as well just have cruise control. I just can't get over this this shifter. It's so bad, I'm not gonna lie. What does this button do? It has a little like exclamation point, and it's like a little circle around it. Maybe that's ABS, disable. Those are hazards, horn, turn indicators, high beams. Ugh. One thing about the BMW is, for some reason, I don't know if it's the way this engine is designed or something, it's pretty lurchy off the line. You gotta really drag that clutch out a little bit, and when it stalls, it really stalls, as you guys just saw back there. Guess they call me Yammie Noob for a reason. Everybody stalls the bike. Come on, guys, come on. Yeah, if we go right here, cruise control is really easy to turn on and off. You just slide this over, and then you just set this, and you're cruising, which is a really nice feeling. So you can get your right hand off the throttle. This allows you to take a break on your wrist. It's not that you can't do long distances by holding the throttle constant. It's definitely doable, but it's just a lot easier if you have cruise control. Makes life a little bit better. To turn it off, it's really easy. Just slap this the other way and you're back to manual control. So this is a really nice cruise control setup on this motorcycle, and I would not be opposed to putting down some serious mileage with this thing. I would not mind at all. This thing is a very comfortable and willing companion. The seat is very nice and cushy. Very nice. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with this this Urban GS. Do I think it's a little silly that it's got the little plastic bark busters and the you know, high front fender with the sport tires? Yeah, it's a little goofy, but you know, if you're buying a BMW, I feel like you're already a bit of a dork anyways, you know. You're already into that sort of thing, right? Yeah, this is a pretty cool bike. It's definitely exceeded my expectations. I mean, BMWs, they don't build bad bikes, man. They're obviously high quality, you know, good motorcycles you can own and ride for a long, long time. But I'm actually very surprised and impressed by this motorcycle. Very, very good riding experience on the R9T Urban GS here. That's gonna wrap it up for today. That's my little riding impression. If you guys want to see us do anything else with this motorcycle, we've got it in the shop for the next couple of months. So if you all want to see any kind of content, maybe a desert sled mashup, that could be kind of fun. Let us know down in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Hey! Great seeing you here. Didn't think I'd see you back at the end of another Yammie Noob video. Yes, this video is actually over, but if you hit this link over here, you can keep watching Yammie Noob. Leave me a comment on this one and that one if you don't mind. Let me know if you liked it or hated it, and then maybe we can make the videos better. Keep improving, right?